the action.
Oh, hell yeah.
This is Dubs OT.
Can't wait.
With John Dickinson.
Hey, JD, what you up to, sugar? Long time no talk to.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live at knbr.com and on the KNBR app.
Draymond from deep. Big shot. He'd only been 1 of 5, and he drops that one in. Midway through the fourth. They're still protecting the double-digit lead.
Yeah, a couple of three-pointers that the Warriors wound up really needing down the stretch tonight from Draymond Green on a night where the Warriors shoot it really well from distance. They make 18 three-pointers. They do it mostly with the offense led, of course, by Steph and Curry, who goes for 31. Warriors win it 120-113. Kind of a clumsy stumble to the finish in a game that the Warriors were in pretty good control of throughout the course of the evening. But nevertheless, the Warriors do get the win by 7 over the Milwaukee Bucks, beginning of a pivotal 8-game homestand right here in the middle of the season for Golden State. This is the stretch that they've been talking about for months that's supposed to kind of get them on a roll here that they haven't been able to find to this point in the NBA season. It is Dubs OT with JD, John Dickinson, back here at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City, and it's great to be at Harmonic. I know Copes and Depop were out here a little bit earlier doing the Dirty Work show and tipping off this 8-game homestand, now 7 to go after the Warriors win tonight with a brew. And cheers to everybody out here at Harmonic, highlighted by Shay. Got to see Eddie out here a little bit. Stop by, say hi if you're ever coming to a game here on the Sports Leader. We do it after just about every game the Warriors play inside the building that sits behind me. And the Warriors tonight get the homestand rolling 120-113. 808 KNBR, the number 415-808-5627. To jump in and join the conversation, Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line 415-808-5627. Same number as the phone lines here on Dubs OT, and those hopping into the YouTube chat here on a Wednesday night as we get into the early part of January and deeper into this homestand. We appreciate it. Best YouTube chat in sports here on Dubs OT, the Dubs OT community. A lot to get into between now and we'll probably roll till about 11 o'clock tonight. Rare is a night where we're on here by 9:30 for one of these 7 o'clock tips. I was talking to Kyle, seemingly these games just getting longer and longer, but usually about 9:40 we're getting on here from Harmonic. And it looked like it was actually going to be a little bit earlier as the Warriors had built a 17-point lead early in the fourth quarter. And it looked like the Warriors were going to put it on cruise control. But come on, when did the Warriors ever really put any game on cruise control completely? I think tonight's probably as close as you could probably have it expect to be in a game where, you'd kind of run through it. And, Giannis came to play tonight early. He hit a 3, he had a dunk, had an and one in the first few minutes of the game tonight. Warriors are actually down 19-13 in the first 5 minutes. And Steph and Curry showed everybody that this was going to be a Steph night. This was going to be a Steph setting the tone for everybody else to follow kind of a night, because he keyed a 7-0 run with a couple of threes himself, and the Warriors jumped right back into a 20-19 lead on a 12-2 run from there. Thought that was a key juncture in this game as well. And Steph, you look up, was a plus 21 tonight in the first half. He ends up plus 23 for the game. So the Warriors plus 23 in this game with Stephen Curry on the floor. And Golden State ultimately gets the win. Actually, he ended up only a plus 16 with what was going on late. I had it marked down as plus 23, but that was actually when the Warriors were still up by 14. And it ends up being a plus 16 for the Warriors as they end up winning the game by 7 all told. But this is a Steph game. This was a ball movement game for the Warriors. This was an offensive flow game for Golden State. They didn't turn it over. in this one. Neither team really turned it over a lot. The Warriors ended up only with 10, so they win the turnover battle, which typically means an automatic win for Golden State. But the story of this one beyond Steph was DeAnthony Melton, who's been a highly productive winning type player for the Warriors in the time that he's been back from his injury. But the one thing we haven't seen DeAnthony Melton able to do is do it offensively. And, was it rust? Is it, just, inconsistency in trying to shake off a more than a year in terms of not being on an NBA floor and being, able to get those shots up in the rhythm of playing an NBA game. But DeAnthony Melton was awesome tonight, really in all phases. But the most important thing, because we've discussed it a ton, he always does the little things. But even as great as DeAnthony Melton is at doing a lot of the little things and the defense and the rebounding and the making the right play and being able to defend up a position, a guard that can guard, he can guard guards, he can guard wings. DeAnthony Melton does that, brings that, has that in his bag every night. But what we haven't seen from DeAnthony Melton is the three-point shot and a more smooth and fluid offensive game. And the question has kind of been, hey, if DeAnthony Melton can find that, what level can that help the Warriors ultimately get to based on, a team that's basically been kind of lingering right around the 500 mark. And so you see on a night like tonight where DeAnthony Melton steps up basically as the number 2 man, hits 5 threes, shoots 8 of 12 overall. And when the Warriors hit shots, the whole thing looks different. You could say, well, JD, come on. What are you talking about, man? That's any team. And, I mean, just look at the game on Monday night in Inglewood against the Clippers. Warriors can't hit shots the whole game. They really did everything else pretty well in that game. Can't hit shots, doesn't matter, don't win. Even with a run late, to be able to make it a 1-point game and an opportunity with Steph going off before he fouled out and Jimmy Butler getting an open look to potentially win the game there. But it's just it's not so much as simple as just hitting shots, but it's getting positive offensive outputs from others that aren't Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. And when the Warriors get that, they really, truly, on a lot of nights, feel as if they are, I'm not going to say unbeatable, but incredibly difficult to get got on a particular night like that. And you say, well, you look at Melton with the 22, Jimmy Butler, it wasn't hitting the 3-ball tonight, although he was taking it. And kind of a sleepy Jimmy Butler game, I would say. Took 15 shots, only hit 6. Wasn't terribly efficient, although he did get to the free throw line 9 times and hit 8 of them. But it was some of the offensive fluidity from other places that the Warriors got tonight. The Draymond threes down the stretch there. DeAnthony Melton hitting the 5 threes. Steph just constantly putting pressure on everybody throughout the course of the entire night. And then the ball movement was there. Al Horford, another one that I think gets a nod on a night like tonight for the Warriors. Not the DeAnthony Melton game for Al Horford, but Al Horford, it's just a lot different when Al Horford is doing the number one thing that he was brought to the Dubs to do, which is knock down open 3-point shots. And he did that a couple of times tonight and had 6 assists and had 10 rebounds and a real positive, impressive game. It's not that the Warriors need the moon and the stars in the world from Al Horford. They just need him to hit a couple of freaking shots. They just, and then that makes all the other little things that Al Horford does stand up a little bit more, just as you look at DeAnthony Melton able to hit shots, and it just it changes, at least for a night, the ceiling for what this Warriors teams can be in terms of just at least having a comfortable game. Again, I don't think, and now they've won 7 of the last 10 with the victory tonight, going back to December the 20th. They win the first of the homestand here with 7 more games to go, and Sacramento's got to be a game that you stick in your back pocket and get on Friday night before things get a little bit more difficult, actually a lot, with Atlanta, Portland, and the Knicks coming in the next 3 after that. So Friday's one you got to get. And I said it before the game at a social media post on the KNBR socials. Anything less than 6-2 for the Warriors in this 8, where they now sit 1-0, is going to be a disappointment, and I think feel like a failure, and really more so feel like just more of the same. Because I still think tonight, as much as you get the Melton game, you get the Horford game, you get the ball movement, you don't turn it over. I thought the Warriors got a pretty good whistle tonight, by the way, after what happened the other night in Inglewood. We'll set that aside for right now. But the reality is the Warriors right now, I think in the grand scheme, do these wins mean anything in terms of like what this team's ultimate ceiling will be for the rest of the season? I don't. Still have moves to be made, and of course we'll get into potential moves that can be made for Golden State with the trade deadline. Couple of reports tonight, and a massive trade in the NBA. Trae Young traded from Atlanta to Washington. We'll get some thoughts on that as well. But really a nice, professional for the most part, final 5 or 6 minutes aside, win for the Warriors, where a lot of different people ultimately contribute, led by, of course, Stephen Curry with his 31 points in 34 minutes. DeAnthony Melton, Al Horford, I thought were the next two biggest keys to the game. They also get net positive performances in a big way from Guy Santos and Brandon Pajemski, even though those guys didn't hit shots in this game. There were a lot of Steph, Pajemski, Melton, Guy, Horford lineups out there tonight at different points. Lineups out there at the beginning of the fourth quarter that helped get the job done. Moses Moody out there with Steph and Pajemski, Guy Santos, and Al Horford. So the Warriors, finding a way. When you shoot well, everything tends to look good. But the Warriors got some contributions, I think, in ways that we haven't seen them get contributions. DeAnthony Melton, Al Horford among them. Good floor games from Pajemski and Guy Santos. One of the better wins, I think, of the season, all told. Pretty complete game. And all the shot making tonight after none of the shot making on Monday night against LA. It just felt like kind of a relatively comfortable Warriors victory against a team that beat them in Milwaukee going back to the end of October. And they're going to be facing another team that beat the Warriors early in the season in Sacramento, bottom 3 team in the league overall, on Friday night at Chase Center. So 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. That is the number to jump in and join the conversation. Dubs OT with JD here at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. Cheers to everybody in the YouTube chat. We bring in our buddy Kyle Haar from the Daly City Studios. Kyle, good Wednesday evening to you, my friend. And Kyle, give me your big takeaway from the ball game tonight here as we kind of set the table for what's to come on Dubs OT.
Big takeaway is that even though Kerr only went to a 10-man rotation, you get some really positive impacts from guys that you've seen make positive impacts, especially recently, but now really come into fruition tonight.
And how about that with GP2 out? And we saw, I thought, Guy Santos get the bulk of the GP2 minutes, and he was that first sub in for Jimmy Butler in the middle toward that 7-minute mark of the first quarter. And, Guy ends up playing 18 minutes, but with GP2 out, Steve didn't take the opportunity really to play anybody else that hadn't been playing. He just shortened the rotation, and Trace Jackson-Davis is the other guy who has been playing a lot, relatively speaking, and he doesn't wind up getting any minutes tonight. Yeah, 10-man rotation. I actually, Kyle, believe it or not, I hadn't noticed that until you pointed it out. So that's a good catch. When's the last time you saw the Warriors only play a 10-man rotation? Again, one of the guys who've been playing in GP2, not available tonight, but ultimately Draymond gutted through it. And I think you got to give Draymond a lot of credit. There was some question as to whether he was going to be able to physically get after it in the game tonight, given the beating that he took on Monday down in Inglewood. But all told, yeah, kind of just a nice win, I thought, for the Dubs. All right, let's get to the YouTube chat, best YouTube chat in sports, to get it rolling here in the first segment. Dubs OT with JD. 808 KNBR, the number if you want to jump in on the phone lines. We do have a couple of phone lines open as the Warriors improve on the season to 20-18. They're getting closer here to the midway part of the schedule now. 38 games to go, so 3 more to go for Golden State. Interestingly enough, they will play exactly half the season when they hit the next game after that, which begins the second half, which is officially the first day in which Jonathan Kaminga can be traded. There were more Kaminga trade rumors today that we're going to get into coming up in the next segment. And, of course, the big trade tonight in the NBA that went down while I was having dinner inside Chase Center. Everybody in the media, all the things going down. Oh, whoa, what is going on here? And Trae Young's leaving the bench and heading to D.C. With the Hawks and the Wizards making a swap, and a 4-time All-Star on the move, and not a lot in return for Atlanta, but it's interesting. The one thing I'll say, and Kyle's shaking his head at the return for Trae Young, I think the Hawks had basically decided that they feel like they have, and we'll see the Hawks at Chase coming up on Sunday after the 49ers play the Eagles on Sunday afternoon. I think the Hawks basically determined that they think they're a better team without Trae Young. So making the trade for Kispert and CJ McCollum is enough to where almost, I don't want to say addition by subtraction, but it's almost, hey, let's just get off the salary, reset the books. This team's been playing pretty well without Trae Young. Add a vet in McCollum to the mix and Kispert who could shoot, and just, keep it moving at that point. Hey, how you doing? Appreciate you. Thanks for stopping by. Always love when people stop by and say, hey. Also want to throw into the chat here, and we'll get to our first installment of Kyle's Clicks. Appreciate it. Oh, we got it. It's alive tonight here at Harmonic on Dubs OT. The people are alive. Always stop by, say hi. Even if I'm mid-thought, it's all good. We'll reconvene middle of the segment. But yes. Wait, Kyle. Is this you? Kyle, you're in the chat? Is this the real Kyle Haar in the chat?
Oh, yeah. I'm in the chat. Well, because Zerker was like, oh, should I go say hi to JD?
Yes,
he was wondering where you were in Thrive City, and I was like, oh yeah, at Harmonic Brewery. Go say what's up.
All right, so Zerker X is coming by at some point. All right, very good. Love that. So yeah, let's get to the chat here. Kyle's Clicks, our first installment in segment number 1. The other thing I wanted to throw out was, I said it a couple of nights ago. I said it pregame. I think anything less than 6-2 feels like a failure for the Warriors on this homestand, and not a failure like their season's going to be over, but a failure in that they aren't really truly building any sustainable momentum. Come on over. Appreciate you. Stop by, say hi. Appreciate you. Appreciate Zerker X? Yes, Zerker X. Appreciate you. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you. Always. Anytime. Thank you. Absolutely. We appreciate Zerker X stopping by. Again, it's friendly. You can get your camera time. We haven't had as much camera time this year on Dubs OT. We got a camera shy crowd here at Harmonic from time to time. But what's an acceptable homestand for the Dubs? Kyle, get your take, and then we'll get to the YouTube chat. 808 KNBR if you want to jump in here. They're 20-18. They come in 19-18. I'm thinking you gotta, at 19-18, you get 6 of the 8, and then you're 25-20. And that to me feels like you're separating from 500. I think that would put them the most over 500 that they've been all year. Could, if you believe some of the reports today, have a Jonathan Kaminga trade in hand by the end of the homestand. which is going to be on the 20th. So still, this is a 8-game and basically 14 nights, starting with tonight homestand. But to me, 6 has got to be price of admission for the Warriors on this homestand. You can't get 6, then it's just kind of more of the same. Not really an extension of this 6 out of 9 before tonight, where the Warriors think that the Warriors, I will tell you, believe that they've found something here going back to December the 20th and really even December the 18th, the game they got beat in Phoenix and the last second foul call, and they ended up losing that game by a point. But what do you got, Kyle? What do you need? What do you need on this homestand from the Dubs out of the 8?
I think I'm with you because I'm looking at the schedule right now and started already off with the Dubs. So yeah, I think 6-2 is manageable. The only team on here that should frighten Warrior fans are the New York Knicks, I believe. Oh well, and Portland.
And the Blazers. And the Blazers.
Hold on.
Let's be honest. And the Blazers.
Pencil that in for now.
Well, and as Robert Brown says, the Kings will be up for that game. I have to look here, Kyle, and the Kings, who have already beaten the Warriors, I will be up for that game. I got to look right now. Yeah, Portland has been the kryptonite for the Warriors, already having lost to them 3 times. But I have to look because I have been paying attention, but I hadn't been paying closely. The Kings haven't won in a while, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, they have not. The Kings have lost 6 in a row and haven't won since they beat the Mavs on December the 27th. So the Mavs came to chase on Christmas. Then they went and played Sacramento 2 days later. Kings beat Dallas then. They played again last night in Sacramento, and Dallas beat them in a close one over at Golden One Center. So yeah, the Kings have not won a game in a while. So they're going to be coming in really fighting among the bottom 3 teams in the NBA with only 8 wins coming in. So yeah, that's a good point from Robert about Sacramento. But it's Sac, it's Atlanta, who's a pretty good young team, as we were just talking about. It's been a team that's been the kryptonite of the Warriors. Warriors owe them 2, but they only play them one more time. So they owe them 1 in the Blazers, who haven't been nearly as good against everybody else as they've been against the Warriors. Knicks the toughest game. Charlotte's got some young talent. And then Miami and Toronto. I feel like this is a sneaky, not easy homestand, especially for how mid the Warriors have been. But push yourself. Get to 6 out of 8. You already got 1 in the bag against a Giannis-led Bucks team that's no great shakes, but they did have Giannis, and the Bucks are better when they have Giannis. I think 11-9 now than they were in the games where they didn't have Giannis to begin this season. So, all right, let's get to it. 808 KNBR. Let's get to the YouTube chat. Kyle's clicks here in our opening segment. What do we got, Kyle? Robert Brown. Unless they go 7-1 or 6-2, this homestand doesn't mean much to me. I'm with you. 100%. You gotta separate from 500. And I said it before the game. I think this is going to be a season-defining homestand, and it's twofold. It's an opportunity to get 6 or 7 and build that momentum away from 500, and it's also the opportunity here with the ability to trade Jonathan Kaminga to add to this roster in a meaningful way by moving someone that hasn't necessarily been a factor for this team since the first 5 to 7 games of the season. All right, good one from Robert to get us tipped off here. Chico State 14, love Chico State. All right, I see you, Melton and Horford, finally. Yeah, what do you think of DeAnthony Melton tonight? I mean, is it shaking off the rust for you, Kyle? Or is it more he's going to do this, but he's going to do it like once a month? Because he's basically been back at this point for about a month.
I mean, I think 2 things can be true. I think he is getting his legs under him. And we've seen him have a positive impact on the game, but not shoot it well. So yeah,
No doubt.
this was a good sight, but because he hasn't shot it well previously, I'm not banking on it, but I still consider Melton to be your go-to 6th, 7th man off the bench.
Yeah, but also a guy that I do think if he's going to shoot it like that, he is 100% a closing player. And he's a closing player a lot of the time anyway, but if he's going to shoot it like that, it makes you feel a hell of a lot better about him being a closing player. Good one, Chico State. I saw Ian J said, JD, they're not going 7-1 or 6-2. I saw that one. We'll see. Again, given what we've seen from this Warriors team this year in 38 games, I would take the under on 6-2. As much as I would set the standard at 6-2, given what I've seen from this Warriors team to this point, I would take the under on 6-2. Point blank, bottom line, end of story on that. All right, let's keep it moving here. A couple of more. I know we'll get to our first time out as Dubs OT continues here on the Sports Leader. As they get closer to the trade date, some of the Warriors are going to get tight in their play because they think they are leaving. Diggum, I'm used to Diggum 117, but I guess it's Diggum 1166. That's not no question. I think that may have already been an issue for Moses Moody. We'll see how Podziemski plays in terms of his shot as things continue to move forward. Hell, I even have said it, Diggum. I think Draymond has been a little more out of whack than we're used to seeing with his play for a longer stretch of time because of the fact that his name has continued to pop up, including today. His name popped up as the Anthony Davis name was again linked to the Warriors. We'll get to that coming up in the next segment. But yeah, those would be the names: Podziemski, Moody, even Draymond. I think would be, not so much Buddy Hield because he's not playing, not so much Kaminga because he's not playing, but those would be the two that I would kind of wonder about, and the three, if you want to include Draymond, that maybe they don't play as well, given the fact that there might be a little bit of some trade speculation and rumor about those two. All right, do we have time for one more, Kyle, or do we need to hit this break? All right, let's do one more here in the YouTube chat to get things going. Best YouTube chat in sports wouldn't be the first segment at Kyle's Clicks on Dubs OT if we didn't hear from our buddy Gene McIntyre. What's going on, Gene? The sub for pods with Melton down the stretch is big. Yeah, that is it is going to be Steph, Melton, Jimmy, Draymond, and then you have to figure out who the fifth is going to be. I think the fifth is not on the roster currently, but, man, if you can find that fifth player that is closer to 30 than they are 35, I think the Warriors would be really cooking down the stretch of this season with still over half of the calendar left to play. All right, let's take a quick timeout. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Warriors get the win, 120-113. Steph leads the way. DeAnthony Melton shows you a little bit more of the offensive package that he has in his bag by knocking down 5 threes. Warriors 31 assists on 44 made field goals with only 10 turnovers. They're 7-3 in the last 10. They're 1-0 on the 8-game homestand. How many wins do you need to see from the Dubs in this homestand to believe that they've got some legitimate action heading toward the second half of the season? We'll get into that next and some of the trade rumors as well. Dubs OT with JD rolling on from Harmonic and Thrive City on the Sports Leader.
Live from downtown.
Hurry, way downtown. Bang! Bang!
This is Dubs OT with John Dickinson on the Sports Leader. Streaming live at KNBR.com and on the KNBR app.
From pocket 5. Anthony Melton hits another 3. A season best for DeAnthony Melton. 5 made threes, 19 off the bench.
Big night for DeAnthony Melton as he ends up with 22, 8 of 12 shooting. One of the rare nights we've seen in his return, him shoot the basketball at that level. He's definitely got it in the bag. If you remember DeAnthony Melton from back when he was with the Memphis Grizzlies, and I know the Warriors do and Warriors fans should. Warriors win at 120-113. Steph Curry goes for 31. Warriors are 20-18 on the season. They win the first of this 8-game homestand. Sacramento at Chase Center coming up here on Friday night. 808 KNBR as we come to you from Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City, right outside Chase Center. Back to the YouTube chat coming up here in just a moment. But we also want to get into, and we're just taking your thoughts on, what is the expectation for this homestand as the Warriors sit at 1-0 with 7 games to go. I think 6-2 is the bare minimum. Warriors are now 7-3 in their last 10 since December the 20th. This is a pivotal homestand for the Dubs with not only the ability to separate themselves from 500, but also the prospect for Jonathan Kaminga to potentially be on the move by the end of the homestand and officially can be traded a week from tomorrow, January the 15th, coming up a week from tomorrow. All right, let's get a few more chats, Kyle, and then we'll get back into what Anthony Slater had to say and kind of the latest on Kaminga, and then we'll get into some of the other trade rumors as well. Sam Amick had some reporting. Sam was on the Sports Leader earlier today as well. But let's get to more in the YouTube chat. Robert Mason, 510, Oakland born, but now lives in OKC. JD, who's a better basketball player, Pods, Moody, or Ryan Rollins? Man, right now, I think it's Ryan Rollins. Right now, today, as we sit, it's Ryan Rollins. Now, they all do different things well, but, Ryan Rollins is averaging 17 points, 4 boards, and 6 assists. Shooting 48%. Right now, it's Ryan Rollins. I don't think you can say otherwise. Now, does that mean we look back in 2 years and say Ryan Rollins is the better player of the 3? Maybe, maybe not. But I'll give you an honest answer on this one. Pods and Moody have been too inconsistent, although Pods has been a good NBA. Pods has done more for longer in his career, but I don't think he's hit that level that Ryan Rollins has, at least statistically, at this point in his career. And Moses Moody definitely has not. But it's Ryan Rollins. And, I thought it was funny. Steve Kerr was asked by some of the Milwaukee media during his pregame press conference about Ryan Rollins. And, he said, hey, he's really happy for him. And the Warriors obviously liked him enough to draft him and bring him into the fold. But often you see players in the NBA who don't really get an opportunity, just kind of thrown into a deal. They go elsewhere, get kind of a fresh look. And look, it took Rollins it took him another move because he went to Washington and then went to Milwaukee before he got it going at the level that we've seen him get it going to this point. But, the Warriors liked him. And Steve made this point, and people can freak out about it and get mad about it. There wasn't time for Ryan Rollins to develop on an NBA court. And so, it makes it a lot harder to figure out what type of player ultimately you have in somebody like Ryan Rollins. So Payne 707, part of the Chris Paul Jordan Poole trade, and he also had some off the court issues, I think, there at one point. But yeah, Ryan Rollins has proved himself to be a coach's son. I think his dad was a college coach, and he wound up proving himself, at least to this point, to be a pretty solid NBA player. To what end? We're not sure. Would he be somebody the Warriors could obviously use coming off the bench? Right now, sure. But sometimes you have to go elsewhere to get a true opportunity to be able to play. But no, I'll answer the question, Ryan Rollins, the better of those three at this particular point. Dig 'em, but isn't that the problem with all the young guys, though? Yeah, no question. That is, and it's also the problem with drafting developmental players when you're a team that wants to contend, which has been a much noted issue for the Warriors over the years. Like, why do you draft guys that are going to take a few years to develop? And yeah, San Jose Jazz fan 8 with the note. Yeah, in D.C., Rollins was caught shoplifting some Old Spice, as I recall. I'm not sure it was Old Spice. I'll trust you, but yeah, it was shoplifting. Absolutely there. All right, Diggum, appreciate that. TG 1423. Warriors need a 2-for-1 trade to make sure we can give a contract to Pat Spencer. Yeah, I do think that will happen. I think the Warriors are looking for a condense the roster down type of a trade, without a doubt. And you're right, that has to be part of it. And I think it will be part of the equation for the Dubs going forward here. Wow, what a game going on with the Sharks right now. I got one eye on the Sharks as we're trying to do Dubs OT, and I know people are talking about it in the chat as well here on the Sports Leader. All right, let's keep it moving. More Kyle's clicks here, and then we'll get to some of the latest on the trade deadline. Dre not ejected or Kerr, so good game. Thanks, Joe Schmo. Yeah, everybody able to keep their composure. By the way, funny clip. We may need to include that clip tonight, Kyle, from Steve Kerr pregame. Steve Kerr talking about his mom being concerned with Steve getting ejected in the game. I guess Steve Kerr's mom, who's in her 90s, said, "Oh, I thought you were going to hit the ref," and that would have been very bad. Like, you look, I think Steve's mom told him after the game, it looked like you were going to hit the ref. And Steve was like, no, wasn't that wasn't what was going to happen there. So we may need to add that to our sounds of Dubs OT. But yeah, good game, Joe Schmo. Nobody ejected for the Warriors in this one tonight. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Robert Brown, I guarantee you any team would take Giannis if able. Oh, without, yeah. No, I mean, any team would take Giannis, and that's been, I think, in some ways, the reasoning behind, fair or unfair, ridiculous or not, why the Warriors have not been willing to move some of their future assets, because there's one guy that they would move all of their future assets for, and that's Giannis. And you look at him tonight, and you kind of, oh yeah, he can fit. He can fit even at 31 years old now. And there were times tonight where he just absolutely bulldozed and took over the game, as he does any night, without a doubt. All right, let's get a couple more, and we'll set the table for what's going on as far as some of the rumors go. And I think we're officially to the point, Kyle. Every night we got to do some kind of a rumor segment or rumor half segment, because it feels like things are starting to happen. We had the first big blockbuster-ish, at least name, go down with Trae Young going, although they didn't get a lot in return. But the rumors, Kyle, are going to be here every night.
Well, like a buy it or leave it kind of deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of buy that.
Yeah, exactly. Buy it or fake news. Drew down in the chat, breaking news, Giannis is good. I appreciate that. Ian J., they're an average team that is very dangerous. That's our buddy Ian's take on where the Warriors sit right now. I don't think the Warriors don't feel dangerous to me yet. Give me to 6-2 and make a trade, and then have a 25-win second half to push 50 wins, and then we can start talking about dangerous as far as this team. But in the last 10, I would say they are trending dangerous. I think they're trending dangerous over the last 10 games. All right, from Ian to Douglas Mikes. That was a win against a team they had to win against. Nothing more. Got to stack those wins this month, and it starts with Friday. Against Sacramento. You shouldn't be losing to Sacramento this season at all, but the Warriors already punted on one in Sacramento in November, and so they're going to have to settle for the next 3 out of 4, and that means you got to jump all over them on Friday night at Chase Center and get that win. The rest of it, as we talked about, is going to be more difficult than I think people think. The Hawks are no picnic, although winnable. Portland, we've seen no picnic. The Knicks are not a picnic. You got to beat Charlotte at home. Miami, always tough when they come to Chase Center. Feels like the Heat have handed the Warriors some of their more ugly losses of seasons in recent memory when they've come here. And we've already seen what Toronto could do with their ball pressure and length and size going back to the end of that game a couple of weeks ago in Toronto. And they're the final game of the 8 here coming up. And that's going to be not only the second of a back-to-back, but my goodness, that's second of a back-to-back. And that is a 4-7, I think. Oh no, 4-6, 5-7, 6-8 stretch. You don't see a lot of 6-8. I guess it's 6-9, a 6-9 stretch for the Warriors there to close that out. So will the Warriors look to rest some guys at the end? You got to pay it forward at the beginning, I think, as it relates to this homestand. If you're the Warriors. All right, let's get to a couple more. Let's do a couple more. Kyle, let's keep it moving. JD, nobody wants them in the playoffs. I would agree with that. I think that's a fair way of looking at it. But I don't think necessarily anybody at this point is going to fear them. I need to see more. Need to see a move made at the deadline. Need to see move made. Maybe a pre-move, maybe a Kaminga move, and then another move. And then this team to really take the back half of the season a hell of a lot more seriously. Gene, I'm going aggressive. 7-1. 7-1 with the schedule that they have, I think would be impressive. I think 7-1 would be good. Trae Young is off the board. Yeah, I don't think Trae was ever somebody that was going to be in the conversation for
but maybe
Dubs.
Corey Kispert.
But Corey Kispert's name had popped up a few times. I don't think Corey Kispert's a good enough overall player to be considered good shooter, but I think the Warriors need more. Estimated eyes coming at Gene. Gene might be high, calling the 7-1 here tonight. Payne 707 is a nice segue, but we'll get to that coming up. John Jay. Warriors are like the Niners. Those are definitely teams real contenders want to walk all over in the first round. Well, those are definitely teams that real contenders want to walk all over in the first round. Okay. We'll see what happens, John Jay. All right, let's get to Payne in the 707. Reports of JK's trade value going down. Yes, that is, I think, the number one headline as it relates to the trade deadline. And that's been kind of circulating over the last week to 10 days as well, as Trae Young winds up going from the Hawks to the Wizards earlier this evening for C.J. McCollum and Corey Kispert. And, yeah, Kaminga can be traded next Thursday. What was reported is that his trade value is not what it was, and that the Warriors are grappling with the fact, and I think the Kings have been the primary example of this, Payne, is they had the hey, you can take Malik Monk and a protected first-round pick. Now you don't get the protected first-round pick, but you got to take Malik Monk as one example of a trade that may have been there on the table for the Warriors that no longer is. And then you had this from Anthony Slater, but I also, and Dalton Johnson of NBC Sports Bay Area had reported on and mentioned some teams: Kings, Bulls, Wizards, Mavs, Suns, Pacers, Blazers, and I would put the Pelicans probably in there. Their name also pops up. Those 8 teams as teams that have been reported on, and I've heard myself independently are interested. And the way it was kind of put out there was some level of interest on Jonathan Kaminga, but that the offers that the Warriors were getting have gone down. And that led to this from earlier today. Anthony Slater of ESPN on ESPN, whatever they call that NBA midday show now, NBA Today or whatever the heck it is. Anyway, he was on there. Here was Anthony Slater's latest on what's going on with Kaminga, and we'll come back and we'll discuss it here.
We're going to be talking about this until like 2035 or something at this point. But Malika, rival executives are seeing what we're all seeing, which is a 23-year-old young wing buried on the bench as the deadline approaches in a win-now time for the Warriors. And they're saying value must be going down on Jonathan Kaminga. What was available in the summer, which the Warriors didn't deem good enough to trade him, is lessening. The Kings are a good example. They had a protected, first-round pick on the table this summer. They're saying that's not currently on the table. Still interested in Kaminga, but value lessening. And the Warriors are, at least voicing to me that they don't have to trade him. They're exploring all options. They're canvassing the league. My educated guess at this point would be he is traded by the deadline. But if he's not, it's because, the value keeps dwindling. I think there would be many upset figures in this whole situation if he's still here. But they have him under contract for next season. They have a team option. They could trade him in the summer, but the desire still is to do it before the deadline.
Well, and last part first, I mean, the desire on everybody's account is to get a trade done before February 5th, which is 4 weeks from tomorrow. So a week from tomorrow opens up the trade window for Jonathan Kaminga to be moved. And then they've basically got 3 weeks to do it. I know Monty Poole had hinted at the fact that not something was in place, but that a deal potentially could be done by the end of the homestand, which again is coming up now in less than 2 weeks and would still have a couple of weeks to go before the deadline. So the Warriors would be a little more on the front end of getting a deal done there. I'm not buying for a second, although I do understand why the Warriors are trying to put it out there. I'm not buying for a second that Jonathan Kaminga is going to be on this team beyond February 5th. That is no good for anybody. We've discussed it a ton. But the reality is, and why Slater brings it up and why the Warriors are trying to whisper that in Slater's ear to get out there on ESPN for everybody to hear, is the fact that the Warriors are trying to not completely get, nothing of value in return for Jonathan Kaminga. But can you imagine the calamity if he wound up on this team beyond February 5th when he's already not playing? I mean, again, he'd be furious. A-Rock would be furious. The fan base would be furious, and rightfully so. Steve Kerr would be furious. I think everybody in that locker room would be wondering, what the heck? Joke's on you. I want to get to joke's on you, because I think this is a great point. JD, the posturing is laughable. No one to hold him, no one to walk away. This was the latter. That's on them. It's a sunk cost, and they need to move on. I wholeheartedly agree. Joke's on you. And I think the Warriors know it. I think the posturing is foolish. I think the posturing is laughable. To your point, I know we had somebody say, put the Nick Friedel laugh in there. Nick with a great laugh. one of the all-time laughs. But yeah, it's a sunk cost that the Warriors have to be proactive on. Like, I don't think they're getting nothing for Jonathan Kaminga. And thanks, Robert. Nod to you for being the guy who mentioned the Friedel laugh. But it's not nothing. But if there are 8 teams that have some level of interest, I sure as hell hope that the Warriors have been, as much as they posture on the one end that they might not move them, I hope the Warriors are as aggressive as they are posturing about the fact that they might not want to move them in scouring the league to find a useful player or multiple useful players that can help fix this roster and push this roster forward toward the back half of the season. That's what I hope. When I say Blazers, Pacers, Suns, Mavs, Pelicans, Wizards, Kings, Bulls, among 8 teams. I mean, that 8 teams is over 25% of the freaking league, for crying out loud. You can find somebody among that that would be willing, I think, to send you back an effective role player for Jonathan Kaminga, a flyer on him at his $22.5 million moving forward. I think they're going to get, and look, I'll admit when I'm wrong, and I'll come on here and I'll say, hey, I'm crazy. I'll say it. I'm wrong if it doesn't pan out. I think the Warriors are ultimately going to get a solid player for Jonathan Kaminga at the deadline. I think they're going to get a player that will be able to come in and help and push this team forward. Now, to what level? Title contender, I'm not sure that player exists for Jonathan Kaminga. Our favorite player can come back tonight. Can come back, JD. You saw him tonight. Wait, Diggum, who are we talking about? Kyle, do you know who we're talking about? Who are we talking about? Our favorite player can come back tonight. I'm missing it.
He might be joking around and talking about Kaminga, because I think I saw an earlier chat saying, like, JD, your favorite player sat out tonight.
Okay. Fair enough. Bobby Portis? No, Bobby Portis.
Kuzma.
Sorry. No. Yeah, Diggum. Yeah. Okay, got it. I got it. All right. You're right. Yeah, woof. Yeah, Michael Porter Jr. I think Warrior fans are going to ultimately be pleasantly surprised with what the Dubs have the ability to accomplish. But everybody at this point is posturing. And I'm going to name a bunch of players estimated coming up in the next segment. I promise you. I'm going to name a bunch of players coming up in the next segment. But the big thing is the posturing, and I agree, it's laughable that the Warriors are acting like, well, we might keep them. The whole freaking league knows you're not going to keep them. And guess what? If the trade value now is less than it was in the summer, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think the trade value now is less than it was in the summer. Because in the summer, he could only be traded for half of what his contract was. And now he can be traded for what the full contract was. And that in and of itself makes the value that you would be taking back greater. The pool of players that you would have coming back with him being a $2.5 million player versus only half of that counting, that gives you a better level of player instantaneously. So, you know what I honestly think that is going on? I think it's the Kings also kind of trying to insert themselves into this by trying to act like they're playing the tough role on, well, this was the best offer in the summer, and now we're taking this pick away, but you can still have Malik Monk or Devin Carter or whoever. Like, I'll bet the Warriors have 5 offers better than Malik Monk on the table at this point. Or they just wind up taking Malik Monk, which I don't think they're going to do because I think they have enough guards and they hate Malik Monk's contract. And I don't think he's necessarily a Kerr system fit player, which is part of it. And here's the other thing on Malik Monk, and I think I've said this before. A lot of the Warrior players don't like Malik Monk because Malik Monk was one of the guys who behind the scenes got Mike Brown fired in Sacramento. And Warrior players know the backstory on that. And you can say, well, JD, whatever, that's petty, that's silly, that's stupid. If this guy can help, he can help. You should welcome him if you're the Dubs. I would agree with that. But the story goes that Malik Monk is not a favorable figure in the Warrior to a lot of the Warrior vets. He also called them old before Game 7 and Sac. I don't know if you remember that, but between Game 6 and Game 7, he basically called the Warriors old, and then Steph had to go put a 50-piece on him to send him packing. And has the beam been lit since? I think it has a few times, but my goodness. Steph extinguished, I think, any long-standing beamage for years to come. All right, let's take a timeout. 808 KMBR, 415-808-5627. We'll come back. We'll get more Kyle's clicks. I'm going to give you a bunch of names. We'll do that, and we also have sounds at Dubs OT. It's all coming up right here from Harmonic in Thrive City on the Sports Leader.
KNBR presents the sounds of Dubs OT.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
No class, no balls.
I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here, off the court.
Now here's John Dickinson.
All right, Warriors win 120-113. They get the job done against the Milwaukee Bucks. Pretty complete win for Golden State overall up until the last, 5 or 6 minutes when it got a little janky, although the Warriors were never really truly, I felt, in danger. By the way, great night out here. Murphy coming by and saying hi. Jack. Murphy had a whole crew here. Including a couple of guys who were at their first ever Warriors game tonight. So great stuff here. It's a big stop by, say hi night on Dubs OT out here at Harmonic in Thrive City. And we love that as we get things going here in 2026. Kyle, what do we want to do? Do we want to get our sounds here, or do you want me to start listing players for estimated eyes?
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't name one.
Well, yeah, since our show garners to solely estimated eyes, yeah, let's list some players here.
So you want to list some players that the Warriors can get?
Yeah, let's start with that.
Potentially, where do we want to start with? What team among the teams that I've listed do we want to start with? I don't think the Kings have anybody. I'm going to say that at this point. I don't think the Kings have anybody. I think when you look at the Bulls, I'll give you so we're going to run through some of these teams. Bulls, I would say Kobe White is somebody to keep an eye on. Isaac Okoro, a name to keep an eye on. I would say Jalen Smith is a name to keep an eye on among Chicago Bulls. What? Give me the teams, Kyle, and then I'll give you some names. Run through some of these teams.
Let's go Mavericks.
For me here. Okay, Mavericks. We've talked about the Mavericks a lot.
Yeah,
but I would say, hey, Billy Joe from Alamo popping in here as well. I would say Mavericks. Anthony Davis's name was mentioned. Although, again, that's not necessarily just part of a Jonathan Kaminga deal. By the way, the latest on Anthony Davis from Sam Amick of The Athletic, he wrote, the Warriors have discussed a deal with the Mavericks, but it's not something where they want to look to give up Draymond Green. Warriors against the notion of giving up Draymond Green or Jimmy Butler, so no realistic pathway to finalizing a deal that would work financially. They're interested in Anthony Davis, but they don't want to give up Draymond to get Anthony Davis, which means you probably can't get Anthony Davis unless you want to give up Jimmy. And obviously you don't want to give up Jimmy because in a perfect world, you'd want to have Jimmy and Steph and Anthony Davis. But players on the Mavs roster, Gafford could be a part of a deal there. I think Najee Marshall could be part of a deal there. So we'll stick with that. What were some of the other teams that came up? Pelicans, we know Herb Jones and Trey Murphy.
Trailblazers.
Yeah, the Blazers. Were the Blazers on that list? I guess they were. The main Blazers salary is Jeremy Grant, who makes $32 million, and that would be like Kaminga and Moody or Kaminga and Buddy Hield, and then maybe you wind up with picks or something like that going in a different direction. The Suns. Well, what do you think of that Suns deal now as you look at the Suns salaries? What do you think of the deal? Do you remember the deal that was on the table in the offseason or in the summer what was it? Royce O'Neal. Would you take Royce O'Neal and something else? There actually aren't a lot of good names on the Suns.
Yeah.
Would you take Dylan Brooks? No, I don't think you're taking. I don't think they're.
No.
I don't think they're looking to trade Dylan Brooks. But yeah, Royce O'Neal, and then the thing about the Suns is they don't actually have a lot of high price salaries. They're not trading Booker. You're not interested in Jalen Green. I don't think they're moving Dylan Brooks. Do you want Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen? If you're no, I don't think you do. So, all right, I named a bunch of names. I named a bunch of Michael Porter Jr. with Brooklyn. Again, I'm naming names. Do not think of any of these as direct one-for-one type trades, because I think ultimately Kaminga probably gets moved in a multi-team trade unless the Warriors mistime this thing to a point where they wind up having to just take whatever the heck they can get, because it's whatever the heck they can get because they let it get too close to February 5th. And then the only other option is to not trade him at all until the summer, which would be a complete and utter unmitigated disaster. All right, let's hear from some of the Dubs. We'll hear from Steve. We'll hear from Steph. We'll hear from Draymond post-game. Warriors win this one against the Bucks 120-113. And we'll start it with Steve Kerr and D'Anthony Melton, one of the headliners for Golden State in this game tonight. Melton playing 25 minutes. That's basically his minutes cap tonight. He knocked maybe a little bit of the shooting rust off. Here's the latest from Steve Kerr on the game tonight and where it leads Melton as far as being a part of the equation moving forward on the season.
He's been out basically for the most part of 2 years, so we're going to keep doing what we're doing, bring him off the bench, keep his minutes climbing. As soon as Rick tells me he can play 30 minutes, then there's going to be nights where he plays 30 minutes. He's a hell of a player. And so obviously I like our starting lineup right now. We're in a good groove. We're playing pretty well overall. We're solid, and Melt gives us a great option off the bench. And as you've seen, he's closed most of the games here the last couple of weeks.
And I think that will continue to be the order of the day for Melton to close games for the Warriors, especially if he's playing the way that he's played tonight. The question is what ultimately is going to be the best Warriors starting lineup. And I don't think it's the lineup that they currently have, although you did see less Draymond at center over the long haul. I mean, he was out there at different points with Horford, different points with Quentin Post. Hell, you even saw Horford out there at the 4 with Quentin Post for a couple of minutes playing the 5. And so you saw some different lineup combinations. I don't believe Steph, Moody, Jimmy, Draymond, and Post is the best starting lineup for this Warriors team. I don't really think Draymond playing the 4 is necessarily where it's at as it relates to, the best way to get the most production from Draymond Green. But I also think D'Anthony Melton is somebody that in a perfect world would be the starting 2 guard and play 30 minutes a game and play next to Steph and play with Jimmy and Draymond. And then you figure out who that 5th guy is going to be. And I think that 5th closer is somebody not currently on the roster, but knowing you have 4 closers 9 nights out of 10 is a big time advantage, which I think gives this Warriors team an opportunity to get on a major roll toward the back half of the season. All right, let's hear another clip from Steve Kerr talking about something that we haven't mentioned tonight overall. It's the bench production. It wasn't a dominant bench night in terms of, oh my God, the Warriors outscored the Bucks 61-29. But it was a productive night when you factor in Melton, and we talked about Horford and Guy Santos. It was a productive night from the bench, and Steve Kerr shouted out the Dubs reserves.
Yeah, I thought they were both great. The bench came in, did a really good job. Coach Stackhouse made a couple good adjustments defensively in that first half, which helped us change the game a little bit. And those guys defensively were really good. So, yeah, it was a good, solid game. We handled the ball well and competed and got it done.
Yeah, the turnover battle, handled the ball well. Even in a discussion about the Warriors bench, handled the ball well becomes the biggest part of what Steve Kerr wants to ultimately work in there. All right, let's hear one more from Steve talking about the homestand and something that we were talking about earlier, the opportunity that the Warriors have ahead here with 7 more games at home, playing better in the last 10, but this being a pivot point for Golden State's season.
Yeah, very important. 8 straight at home. The schedule is finally turning for us in our direction, and so we want to take advantage of it and have a great homestand and make a push and get some separation from that 500 mark that we've been hovering around all year.
Yeah, this is the shot. And again, we'll see if the Warriors can do it, because I think the schedule, you may look at it on paper and say, that schedule ain't much. I think when you look at it, I think the schedule for what the Warriors have been this year has been more difficult. It projects to be more difficult than you think. I'll put it that way. But yeah, you look at Steve there, and this is what they're going to have to do here to be the team that they believe they already were, but haven't proven themselves to be to this point. All right, let's hear from Steph, and then we'll hear from Draymond. Before we get to that, though, a couple of text messages. Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line 530. Dub Nation salutes DeAnthony Melton. Big-time game off the bench in the win. 951. More games like tonight from DeAnthony Melton the Warriors badly will need. And then the 224, Melton needs to be that consistent third scoring option, which should be his role. I'm not sure if that's what his perfect role is going to be for this Warriors team. To me, he's more of a found money guy, 4th, 5th option type guy. I think they're one slot short. Imagine this Warriors team with one more bona fide starter that can shoot, that can, knock down some of these open shots that the offense has been creating all year. And how much does that help Steph? How much does that help Jimmy? How much does that help, assuming they're still on the roster, Podziemski and Moody slot down in their roles and take a little bit of that pressure off of DeAnthony Melton so he doesn't have to be that dude. All right, let's hear from Steph. Steph talking about the hot shooting night, which wound up being the story of the game and the opportunity ahead for Golden State on this homestand.
I mean, you're only as good as the shots that go in. So, I'd like to have the confidence and the belief that we are, but it's, trying to create good shots, consistent good looks for good shooters. You stick with that, you'd hope that would build over the course of a stretch of games. But I'd like to have the belief, but you got to go, knock down shots.
Steph's seen too much. He's seen this team too often to think that they got it cooking, even though we might look back if this team can go 6-2 on the homestand after the 6-3 leading up to the homestand. We might at that point go, all right, they're on to something. They're 12-5 in their last 17, 13-5 in the last 18, something like that. But man, Steph is on it. You got to go out there and absolutely look to prove it. All right, let's hear one from Draymond Green. Draymond and his focus of the night was on the turnovers and not making sloppy mistakes that at times this team has made a ton over the years. And I think the identity crisis of understanding that they're not the team that they used to be, but also being able to know that you have to be a little bit more buttoned up compared to the way you used to be, because you could get away with a lot more when you were a younger, faster, stronger, sharper, more dominant team. The margin for error that we speak of so frequently with this Warriors team that really isn't there. I mean, how quick did that 17-point lead get down to 7 in the fourth quarter when it looked like the Warriors were going to be able to coast? They never coast. But here's Draymond on turnovers kind of being the key to all of it.
I feel just taking less chances. Coach came to me. He was just like, yo, we're going to keep putting the ball in your hand, but you have a responsibility to take care of it. And we're not the team that we used to be where you can kind of take those chances. The league has changed. Teams feast off those turnovers. And so just try to take less chances than I was taking. And, I heard it, took it to heart. But overall, just trying to focus in on everything, not just the turnovers, just myself, this team, what's going well, what's not going well, trying to figure out things to, be the player that I can be for this team, the leader that I can be for this team. So, it's definitely a concerted effort.
For as much criticism as Draymond Green has taken, and he's earned it. I mean, we've gone through a lot of the bad games and the ugly 8 turnover games and 5 turnover games. He still is somebody that you can see on a night in, night out basis why you would want to have him on this team for the biggest of the big games. And the defensive acumen, the overall leadership, the ability to rise to the moment, which is something that I think can have a trickle-down effect to other players on this Warriors roster. The intangibles and the elite defense are still there as long as you're not overtaxing him throughout the regular season. To me, it's not so much the Warriors needing to move on from Draymond Green, because that's not it. It's continuing to build a roster to where this version of Draymond Green can be his most successful. And maybe that means he doesn't have to play as many minutes. Maybe that means ultimately he plays predominantly the center spot or sits on the bench. But it's not you got to get rid of Draymond. It's continue to further complement this team around Steph and Jimmy and Draymond to accentuate the things that they can still do and offset some of the deficiencies that come with an aging player, to where you can win games on nights that you don't need Draymond to be like he was against Victor Wembanyama in the middle of November in San Antonio just to have a shot. That, to me, is the number one thing. I still believe in the Warriors with Draymond Green on this roster, and I still believe that there are other ways you can improve this roster that don't include him necessarily having to be an addition by subtraction component to being able to fix it. So that's our sounds of Dubs OT for this one tonight. All right, final couple of minutes here. Kyle, do we need to take a break before the top of the 11 o'clock hour? We'll keep going. All right, let's get some Kyle's clicks as well to kind of close up shop here. We'll do some fun with numbers. Lively evening here at Harmonic in Thrive City. Let's get to it. More from the YouTube chat to wrap up the evening. JMU22. Dre is still a -10 for tonight's game. Dude sucks the energy out of the room sometimes. He was a -10 tonight. There's no question, which means the Warriors won by 7. They were a +17 with him off the floor. You're seeing fewer and fewer stretches where he and Steph are playing as many minutes together as they have in time gone by. But Draymond was still, even though it was a net -10, I do think Draymond tonight played the kind of game that you can live with. If he had 4 points tonight, we'd be having a completely different conversation, and the Warriors might have lost, and it would have been one of those nights where he's getting criticized. But it's a fair point to bring up, JMU 22. It really is. It's a fair point. Bennett Roth, I wouldn't even mind trading JK for Kyle Lowry. Ooh. Backup point guard. Injured backup point guard.
Big man Kyle.
Big man Kyle. Yeah, exactly. Wait, Kyle Lowry? Yeah, Kyle Lowry. Okay. Yeah, I don't think Kyle Lowry is. I don't think Kyle Lowry is going to be part of the equation moving forward here. All right, let's keep it rolling. I wasn't expecting that one, I'll be honest. Rich Ray, every game's a clutch game. That's the sign of a mid-team. They are a mid-team. Again, there's no sugarcoating it. They're a mid-team until they prove that they're not a mid-team. Maybe they start to prove that they're not a mid-team on this homestand. We shall see. But I'm not buying it. As on the one hand, as somewhat optimistic as I am, they're still a mid-team until they prove otherwise. So yeah, Rich Ray, I don't necessarily disagree with that. Douglas Mikes, if it means keeping JK and healed or getting an injury-prone Grant, I'll take Grant. I'll take Jeremy Grant. And you know what? You wouldn't have caught me wanting Jeremy Grant or believing Jeremy Grant would help this Warriors team in the offseason. And again, it really wasn't a financially feasible deal for them to look at Jeremy Grant. I am with you now because you know what? He wouldn't necessarily have to be a closing lineup player on this Warriors team. I think he would be a starter on this Warriors team, but I think he would be somebody that on the nights he's got it. Again, the one thing I would say against Jeremy Grant is the player option for $36.4 million in 27-28. I think the Warriors are trying to keep that money as much as they can potentially off the books as it relates to that. Kyle, are we still cooking here, Kyle? Hop on real quick or make sure we're still cooking. I've got a little bit of a lag here.
Oh yeah, you're still on and connected.
Okay. We're good. I cannot at the moment see the chats. So yeah. So and it's because I can't click back to the StreamYard at this point. So stand by for that as the computer kind of froze here for a moment as I was leave it to Jeremy Grant to basically make the computer freeze on me.
Yeah, I don't think the computer liked the idea of Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, the computer did not like Jeremy Grant. So we'll move forward, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna Kyle, if you want to read some of the chats,
I was just about to suggest I just read the user and what they say.
Yeah, right. Let's do that. Let's do that, and then I can't see the screen or anything like that. So
but just heads up, the chat can still see you.
Oh, of course. No, I know that. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Okay. So
don't start stripping down.
No, please.
In harmonic.
All right. So Payne,
go ahead.
Payne asks, is Mike D in the hot seat if the Dubs are in the play-in?
I don't think he's in the hot seat. We got to see how it shakes out. Do they make the playoffs out of the play-in? What does he do at the deadline that leads them to get to the play-in? I don't think he's in the hot seat. I will say that. I don't think he's in the hot seat. But I do think it's a scenario where there would be a hell of a lot of disappointment if it winds up being that type of scenario. But no, I'm going to say no to that, Kyle. No, I do not think Mike Dunleavy is in the hot seat if the Warriors are in the play-in. As disappointing as it would be, and it would be a colossal disappointment.
Oh, yeah. This via bingo. Give up picks because the Warriors can't draft anyway.
Yes. To a certain extent, yes. Give up picks because the Warriors can't draft anyway. 100%. No question. I think you have to be willing to give up some picks. Now, it doesn't mean you have to give up all the picks, but as we talked about, there were, there are a lot of picks that the Warriors have available to them that they can move. You could move the 2026 pick. You could move a 2028 pick. At this rate, Steph's still going to be playing anyway. So, you have an opportunity to be able to move picks. I think the Warriors are going to have to move picks. I know they don't want to move a pick to sweeten a Kaminga deal, but if you make it a big enough deal, you should be able to get enough back to where you could throw a pick in there to get a player, or 2 picks even to get a player. Like, at this point, are you really that worried about 26 and 28 picks? Because it looks like Steph, did you watch Steph tonight? He's still pretty freaking awesome. Even at 37, going to be 38 coming up in March.
All right.
Let's get another one, Kyle.
Yeah. Too much here. Just move all of the dead weight off this team.
All right. Well, who's the dead weight? Depends on the night.
Yeah, the guys who aren't playing, for one.
Depends on the night as far as who the dead weight is, right? I think that's what they're trying to do. Jonathan Kaminga is dead weight, at this point. Buddy Hield right now is kind of dead weight on this Warriors team. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to use the $30 million basically that those two combined add up to be able to find somebody that they can bring back and factor into the equation. All right, let's get a couple of more here. And we'll close up shop.
Couple more. This via TG. Dunleavy has done no wrong. Dude has not even had a first-round pick yet, and 3 guys at the end of the second round that he has drafted play every night.
That's a good point. Moses Moody's not his thing. Jonathan Kaminga's not his deal. He doesn't have to own James Wiseman. And to your point, Pajemski's a good player. Quentin Post and TJD are bona fide NBA players. And we can say the same thing about Will Richard at this particular point in time. So he also got the Warriors' Jimmy Butler. So, yeah, I definitely don't think Mike Dunleavy is on the hot seat, even if this team winds up in the play-in. But the hope is that they're not going to wind up in the play-in because they're going to make one more move, maybe not as big as the Jimmy Butler move, but big enough to help propel this team back on track to the level that they believe they could be going back to the beginning of the season.
All right, we'll do one more before our comment of the night. So this is via Bay Area Music Lens. Is there little chance that any teams would want Draymond?
I think there are teams that would want Draymond. I think there's teams all throughout the league that actually would want Draymond. It's just a matter of who's going to be going the other. Like, I think Detroit would want Draymond. I think the Knicks could want Draymond. I think Cleveland. I think the Lakers, Minnesota. I think there's teams that would want Draymond. There's probably other teams that I'm not even mentioning. Like, I think there are teams. I think Philly potentially would want Draymond. I think there's teams that would want Draymond Green. But again, it's also going to be – it's one of these scenarios where the Warriors would be using Draymond's money to send out to bring back a player that they would want. And then the team that the Warriors are getting that player from may not be the team that Draymond's going to. So there have to be a third team involved, and then younger players or draft picks going back to the team that doesn't take Draymond. So it is a lot of puzzle pieces that ultimately would have to be factored in and figured out. All right, let's get to it. Our final comment of the night.
Now, time for the Dubs OT comment of the night.
Whoa, San Jose Jazz fan, the 9th. Can the Warriors claim Jonathan Kaminga's depreciation on their taxes?
Oh, my goodness. Can they clean? No. Short answer, no. Kyle, I know you lost me. I'm going to come back right now.
It's okay.
I know you lost me. I did that on purpose because I was trying to fix the problem. So I know
it's fine.
I know I popped out of the.
I see you.
It's the Kyle Har Show, everybody. It's the Kyle Har Show, everybody. We back. Yeah, that was it. That became the only thing that we were going to be able to do to where I could start to see the comments again. Yeah, we fixed it here on Dubs OT. But yeah, no, they cannot, I think, claim the depreciation on their taxes. But that's a good one. A multi-time winner, San Jose Jazz fan 8 here of the Dubs OT comment of the night. All right, that's going to do it. Let's go ahead and get to our fun with numbers here before we close up shop on this Wednesday night and head toward Thursday and on to Friday, where we'll be back with you here on the Sports Leader.
This is Dubs OT with JD. Time now for fun.
I'm a fun guy.
With numbers.
No, I'm just having fun.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live on KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
Pretty funny. Ian J. JD said no. Erwin Kwong, JD duct tape strikes again. Yeah, sometimes you just, like, when in doubt, you just got to eject on the whole thing and then just hop back in. It's like the Control-Alt-Delete, right? It's just hit that reset button. Hit that reset button on the whole thing and then move forward. All right, Warriors have won 5 of the last 6 at home. Our fun with numbers. They're 12-5 at home this season. Let's see how far they can take this thing on the home floor in terms of continuing this momentum. 1-0 on the homestand. Again, can you name all the teams the Warriors have ahead? Friday has to be a win. Sacramento, Atlanta, Portland, New York, Charlotte, Miami, and Toronto to close out this homestand. We'll see what the Warriors have the ability to do. Warriors turnover issues, not a thing. 2 straight games for the Dubs. Last time the Warriors had 2 straight games with 10 or fewer turnovers. Kyle, do you remember when it was?
Okay, my first thought is like Cleveland and Chicago when Steph and Draymond didn't play.
The answer is no. The answer is no. It was, you got to go all the way back to January of 24. They had 5 turnovers in Chicago, and then they had 8 in Milwaukee the next night. Why do you not remember that? Because the Chicago, one of those games the Warriors punted on completely. It was basically, one of the so it was kind of like the games in Chicago and Cleveland, although the Warriors won those games. But yeah, one of those games I think was a Jonathan Kaminga big game, and the other one I think they rested everybody because it was the second of a back-to-back. But yeah, only 2024, the last time the Warriors had 10 or fewer in consecutive games. The Warriors now 15-4 when they at least tie, if not win, the turnover battle. They're 12-4 when they score 120 points or more. And what can you say about Steph and Curry? 31 points, 12th 30-point game of the season, and the second in the last 3 games. DeAnthony Melton, big game for Melton, 21, 19th 20-point. DeAnthony Melton, 23rd career 20-point game, second most points by any Warriors reserve this season. Moses Moody in Phoenix had 24 against Phoenix, actually, at Chase Center back on November the 4th. Jimmy Butler, 21, 19th 20-point game of the season, and Al Horford, season-high 10 boards to go with the 6 assists and the 8 points. It was a great Al Horford game. All right, that's going to do it for us. Appreciate everybody in the YouTube chat. Appreciate all the callers and the texters here. Big thanks to Kyle Haar. Big thanks to Jordan Pratari tonight, as well as Overnight Dave, who's just kind of hanging out, lurking there in the background. We'll talk to you Friday once again from Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. Warriors win at 120-113. Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. Emirates Cup or bust.
Oh, hell yeah.
First of all, you got to start off liking each other.
I'm super cereal.
Big fat dub.
Ain't nobody going to stop me.
I just wake up and I can shoot it no matter if I'm playing or not.
But great win.
Who are these guys?
I love you, JD. Bye, sugar.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
Jimmy freaking Butler,
puts it in.
Obviously, I'm shooting the ball well. It's pretty obvious.
Batman comes out of nowhere. You never see him coming, then he just falls from the sky, from a building, behind the door.
Everything's gonna be all right.